Good morning. I'm in my shop. It's January 10th today, and hopefully I start working on some of this before I disappear. Okay, you guys help me out with my poll on YouTube in terms of what videos I should do before I leave for 2 months. And you guys want to see the equipment. And I get it, because I'm the equipment freak around here too. So I started doing some repairs on this tractor. I got it all serviced up, ready to go. This is our 295R. That's a power shift, 16-speed power shift. So it has 1,700 hours on it. And we had to change the hub oil and the front wheels because it's front wheel assist. So there's gears in the front hub and there's oil in there to keep them lubricated and cool so they don't wear. I had to change those. I had to change the hydraulic oil like you'll see in the video here. So anyways, I'm going to work on our other 295R today. Hopefully maybe even get it hooked up to the planter and start working on the planter. So here we go. So in my last video, I talked about cleaning my shop because it was a disaster. It took a couple days. I got it clean. 2 bucket loads of mud were scraped off the floor in here. And with it cleaned out now, I got some room to work on equipment. So I got our one tractor in here that I'm going to do the service on. It's a bigger service, hydraulic oil and some other stuff need changed on it. So that's going to take a bit. And I also have the planter in the shop here. I'll focus on it. There. It doesn't need a lot because I spent so much time on it last year. But I do have to get the planter tractor that I use hooked up to it. And then I can unfold it and check to make sure all the row units are in good shape. And what I mean by row units are the units that actually plant the seed. And I can show you here a second. That is a row unit. So we have to check the, let me get her focused in here for you. We have to check the gap on the disc here, make sure all this stuff is good, make sure the bearings are good on all this stuff that are engaged on the ground that actually do the planting and open the furrow and close the furrow. So, after that, just give it a good grease and it will actually be ready to go. So this is not going to take too much. And the cart part won't take much, just to grease and to check things. I kind of checked it over after we finished side dressing. Urea, well, Amidas, I guess the product was called last summer. So this tank right here has to go on the front of our planter tractor. I'm not sure I'm going to put it on right now yet. I might do that when I get home from my travel. It doesn't take much, and when I put it on, it actually makes the tractor really long, and it's harder to get it hooked onto the planter and in the shed and with still room to work around the front and the back, because we only have 50 feet of depth here in the shop. So I might leave it off, and that just gives me a little bit more room to work on stuff. So that might be something that happens near the end. But I wanted to get it out before I buried it in the corner behind a whole bunch of other stuff, and I can't get at it when I want to. So I have spent a lot of time in the office getting crop plans done. So I have a few meetings lined up next week with input suppliers to talk about fertilizer needs, my seeds looked after, and chemical. I'll probably work on chemical while I'm gone. It's not a big deal because we really don't do much other than plan on what chemicals we're going to use for the year and just get them kind of in the spring, so that's not a big deal. So I think we're getting some of the stuff whittled away here, but as I said, we'll service this tractor and we'll go from there.
The copy designed by Anthony Balsick, with production assistance by Ron Shapiro, Carly Vannon, and Travis Clark. This episode of Unexplained Mysteries was written by Scott Christmas, with writing assistance by Bruce Power.
Changing oils are always so messy. Just messy. So what I'm doing right now is changing the hydraulic oil. And what the hydraulic oil is, it's actually the oil that helps lubricate the transmission for the tractor to move back and forth. And it also uses the oil to run the hydraulics on the tractor to hook on implements like my planter or other things that use hydraulic cylinders that will raise and lower equipment or unfold it. So they also run like fans and different things that have hydraulic motors. So the goal with this is that every 1500 hours you need to change the oil. And we're at that point in the service with this tractor right now. So that's why we're doing it. It takes 187 liters of oil. If you were to think about that in terms of water bottles, that would be, oh, let me guess, what? It's like 300 and some little water bottles, a normal water bottle. So it's a lot of oil. So it's going to take me a bit here to get it all empty.
One of our friends finally told us that graduation was laughing. We were stood in court as one of the girls turned to the other, put her hands down on their brother's back and squeezed with all her might. We stood forward to pull them apart. We tried so hard the girl had an iron grip. But something couldn't strengthen it. She was just accepting it. It almost took us to a soon as
God. Okay, some might wonder what a filter is. Most people probably know, but it's like a car filter, but this is for the hydraulic oil. So we try to filter out any impurities. So that's what it looks like. If you can believe that, this filter here costs like $254. but I guess it's cheaper than putting crappy oil through your tractor and having a major problem happen. So I'm just going to reinstall that filter now that it's replaced, and all we have to do is put hydraulic oil back into the tractor and it's changed, which is good, but it's just messy. Messy. If you can tell from my attire, it's got raincoats and my rubber boots. We're flooded. They've been calling for this big rainstorm coming through all weekend. It's Saturday and we're getting it. And sometimes when it rains a lot, it actually comes into my shop where my geothermal heating lines come into the shop. They come through the foundation, and when they punch the hole there to do it, when water comes off the roof, it piles up and it pushes up through the holes, and my floor gets flooded in the shop. But I'll give you an idea what it looks like. It's raining cats and dogs out right now, and I know a lot of people wouldn't want to hear this or see this if you're short on moisture, but they're talking 3 inches of rain, and I think we got over an inch already, and the ground's frozen, so it's not taking it very well. And it's all flooded. I'll try to get a shot quick before I get rained on, but it's all flooded out there. Now, one of the last things I need to do with this tractor before I switch it out for the other tractor is it always spreads the chicken manure, which is really dusty. So I'm gonna, because it's beautiful outside, I'm gonna set up the tractor outside the shop door here and just blow out the rads to blow out any dust, particles, chicken feathers or chicken down out of the rads so that it's clean. And then this tractor is ready to go for spring, which is kind of scary. It's funny how you, as you get older, you start to worry about other things in life that you might have not worried about before, and one for me is hearing. We're around large equipment, large motors. Sandy's around sheep all the time, so hearing protection is number one. I use this a lot anymore, even working with the impact, cordless impact that we have, because it just makes so much noise, especially when you get your head shoved into the hub of a tire trying to take a wheel off. The cool part is about these ones, they're from 3M and they're Bluetooth, wireless Bluetooth. So I can listen to my podcasts that I like to listen to through my hearing protection, and hopefully it helps later on in life. So I'm not saying what all the time. I listen to podcasts all the time, so does Sandy. Just curious if you guys listen to podcasts too, especially for those who farm, that work in tractors and combines or other equipment for long hours if you listen to podcasts. Or those who don't farm, whether you listen to podcasts on the way to work and back home again, or just around the house or wherever. So yeah, leave a comment below if you listen to podcasts and what you listen to. I'd be interested to hear. I'm always looking for new podcasts to listen to. So anyways, I'm gonna fire up the air compressor, put my headphones on, my hearing protection, and listen to a podcast and blow out the rad. Some of you might be wondering what I'm using, because it doesn't look like it has any ends on it or any holes. But on the very end, right here, there is like 5 or 6 pinholes that the air comes out of. And what is nice about it, it's flat, and I can get in right along the edge of the rad and blow it out. So for any farmers or mechanics or anyone that has rad or heating issues, overheating issues in a vehicle, it was like 10 bucks on Amazon. I love Amazon for some stuff. So yeah, I'd recommend one. So the rad's all cleaned up, and we'll just put it all back together and get the hood down. It's pretty simple. They got some holders that let the rad kind of hang out so you can get into it down in the bottom as well. So I just gotta slide those back in place and we're good to go. So I got the other tractor in the shop here now, and it's quite a simple service. This tractor only has 1,000 hours on it. So what I usually do every year or every other year, kind of depends, is there's 2 air filters for the engine. I always change the primary every year, the secondary every other year. So every 1,000 hours, the inside one gets changed, and every 500 hours basically, once a year, we change the outside. Change some cab filters, and then basically it just needs a really good greasing. So because we have the front suspension on this tractor, there's a lot of wear points and grease fittings. So gonna grease the front end of the tractor for the suspension, and then inside this area here there's a special grease fitting that there's 2 of them for the variable speed fan on the cooling system, and they need greased once a year as well. Check the oils, and this tractor then is actually ready to go. So once I know it's ready to go, we'll start hooking it up to the planter, clean out the cab, and my goal is, because I am going to be gone, to have this completely ready to go, this whole unit, and I'll park it in the back. So when I come home 1st of April, we should just be able to drive away with it and it will work, which would be wonderful. We interrupt this current program of equipment maintenance for breaking news in the sheep barn. So as you can see from the video, it's a mess. I don't think the hose has been off too long, but basically one of the hoses came off the automatic milk machine for the lambs feeder, and spilt a whole bunch of milk all over the floor that I'm trying to clean up. So right now it's kind of wet in there. I'm gonna have to put a hole in the floor. Sandy's gone to a meeting today and tomorrow, so I'm in charge of everything. So I'm gonna fix it the way I would fix it, because she's not here to tell me anything different, but she would probably ask me to do whatever it was anyway, so it's not a big deal. So I'm gonna drill a hole in the floor, basically kind of clean out all the milk inside there, put a little chunk of wood over top of the hole so the cold air doesn't get in, and then I'll let this soak up overnight. In the morning I'll clean up all the straw I put down to soak up the milk, because it's kind of a mess and it's going to stink really bad. But what do you do? Can't see it very well, but there's a grease fitting right there that I gotta get, and I think there's one in here somewhere. So I'll try to get them, put it back together, and that should be good, other than greasing the front suspension. An update that isn't really much of an update. I'm working on getting everything hooked up to the tractor. My plan is, once I have this hooked up, I'm not going to unhook it like I said. But right now I just want to make sure everything works. So I got the hydraulics hooked up that run the fold, fan, or the fans off PTO, all the other stuff. Electronics is kind of over on this side, and I'm working on it. It's going in the cab. But problem right now is I got a dead short somewhere. And what I mean by a dead short is I really don't know what a dead short is. Other than it's causing my wire to heat up and it's popping a fuse. I've blown, I don't know, like 10, 30 amp fuses trying to figure out what's going on. This is what a cab looks like when you're trying to get stuff figured out. Fuses are down in that area right there. That's the box the Aulari cart came in with all the electronics to do the switch on the hydraulic. So I'm just trying to figure out what's going on there. We'll see what happens. Okay, I've determined that the wire or the power cord for the scale is the problem. So I'm just going to tear it apart, see what it looks like.